Hey everybody, welcome back to Local Level Duelist. Now today I'm going to profile a Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend Resonator deck profile. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to play this at my upcoming locals, but I want to profile the deck, show off some test hands just to show you what the deck can do, especially with the release of Red Supernova Dragon in Ghost from the Past. So I'll get straight into it. I'll explain a little bit more of the card choices because this is a deck that is not as common. To start with the monsters, we're playing 3 Crimson Resonator. Now this is the best one to have. If you control no monsters, you can special summon it. And then if the only other monster you control is exactly 1 Dark Dragon Synchro, you can special summon up to 2 Resonators from your hand or deck, which is really, really good. But using either of this card's effects is going to lock you into Dark Dragon Synchro monsters from the extra deck, which is pretty limiting, but our extra deck is built with that restriction in mind, and a lot of cards restrict us into Dark Dragon Synchros, so pretty much every turn you're going to be playing under that restriction. I'm also playing 3 Red Resonator. This is another one that's okay to see in your hand. What we're going for is to see one of these 2 Resonators alongside a level 4 monster. That will get us into our Synchro 6, which gets our plays started. A Red Resonator, when it's normal summoned, special summons level 4 or lower from hand. And when it's special summoned, you can target a face-up monster and gain life points equal to its attack. This starts coming in handy really in turns 2 and 3. If you start summoning it back and you've got Synchro monsters on the field, you can start gaining life points, 3,000, 4,000 even at a time. I'm playing 3 Synchron Resonator as well. I don't want to play 3, but I feel like 3 is kind of necessary. You don't really want to see Synchron Resonator in your hand. With your first use of Crimson Resonator, you're usually summoning 1 Synchron Resonator based on what your hand is. And then on the second use of Crimson Resonator, I'm typically summoning the other 2 Crimson, I'm typically summoning the other 2 out. So you kind of need 3. It also makes your big Synchro Dragons effects a little bit more live by having the level 1s. The level 1s are quite important. So I find having 3 is kind of necessary, although you don't really want to see it in your hand. If it is in your hand, you can freely special summon if a Synchro monster is on the field, but they've got really good recursion effects that aren't once per turn. So if it's sent from field to grave, you can target a Resonator and add it back to your hand, and there's nothing once per turn about Synchron Resonator, which is pretty cool. I'm also playing 1 Creation Resonator. This is important for the first use of Crimson to help you get into Red Supernova Dragon because it's level 3. Also, if it's in your hand and you control a level face up, if I control a level face up, level 8 face up or a face up level 8 or higher Synchro monster, I can special summon from hand. So it's not really a brick either, but its main purpose is to be summoned from the deck. But that's the Resonators. That's 10 Resonators in total. Going on to the level 4s, I'm playing 3 Wandering King Wildwind. So if you control a Fiend type tuner with 1500 or less attack, which is all of the Resonators, you can special summon him from the hand. He locks you into Synchro monsters if you attempt to use that effect. And then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, I can banish it to add a Fiend type tuner. So it gives you access to more Resonators going into turn 2 if you happen to have that. Sorry that noise outside, it's just a truck going by. I play 3 Witch of the Black Forest. This is the best normal summon, or the best level 4. It can search itself, it can search any of your level 4s, which are really important. It can also search Dogoron, the Kaiju, which is pretty cool. And I'm also playing 1 Red Familiar. Now Red Familiar is typically a turn 2 play. You contribute a Fiend to target a Dark Dragon Synchro in the grave and special summon in defense, negating its effects. And then you can banish Red Familiar from the grave to alter its level between 1 and 8, which can come up as well. But just 1, it is searchable, so 1 is more than all you need. Now I find that with the deck, you are in no short supply of Resonators. The Resonators come fairly easily. A lot of your cards search for Resonators. It's the level 4s that I find you run out of. So being able to access more level 4s, so Witch of the Black Forest, searching Witch of the Black Forest is pretty good. Your typical turn 1 play that gets you into Red Supernova Dragon recycles pretty much the whole combo, so you can do it all again if it was Witch that you opened. Going to spells, playing 3 Resonator Call, 3 Resonator Command. And this is it for the rest of the Resonator cards. So the level 4s you've seen, the Resonators, and then these 2 spells. That's it for the main engine of the deck. The rest of the deck is all disruption cards. So it's about half-half. Because the engine of this card's quite small, you're able to max out on some good disruption cards. And I'm actually blinding second with this deck. So using some pretty good blowout cards to stop the opponent, and then set up. Once the board state is quite simplified, that's when the Resonators will really shine, because your Synchro monsters can take care of the rest from there. But Resonator command discards a Resonator to add a level 4 or lower Fiend, which is all of the Resonators plus any of the level 4s not Witch of the Black Forest. So it searches Familiar or Wandering King Wildwind, but it also just one other card that I will show in a second because it's also a disruption card. Playing 3 Resonator Call just adds 1 Resonator from deck to hand, which is nice and easy. Now for the disruption cards, I'll show you this card first because this card's really important, and that's Skullmeister. Skullmeister obviously is disruption, but it's also a level 4 Fiend. So being a Fiend is cool because it can be searched out by Resonator command. Plus it's a disruption. It can also be searched by Witch of the Black Forest. Sometimes this is what I'm searching off Witch of the Black Forest because it gives me a level 4 for next turn, but if I need it, I have it. So as far as the disruptions go, it's one of the weaker ones, but it's important because it's also kind of an engine card, being a level 4 that you can normal summon or summon off of Red Resonator. But for the rest of the going second cards, playing 3 Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's quite universal. Playing 3 Dogran. This is searchable by Witch of the Black Forest, that's why I'm playing it. Typically I'll side 2 out if I know I'm going to go first, so I can always access the single copy off a Witch for a turn 2 play. I'm playing 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster to help out with some back row matchups. I know my locals is quite control matchup heavy. A couple of people play combo, but mostly it's control decks. Playing 3 Infinite Impermanence and 2 Evenly Matched. So I know I'm not really playing the huge blowout cards, like something like Dark Ruler, Lightning Storm, those kinds of things. But I find that I'm hoping that this will just be enough to get the job done. Obviously, plus the 3 Skullmeister to make it, I think it's 17 going second cards, which is pretty good. Should be enough to stop most decks. So these 9 plus the Skullmeisters can be useful for combo. This gives you lots of answers against control, which is great. But then the Dogrons obviously come in handy. Lots of people are summoning Dragoon, and that helps to stop it. Going into the extra deck, it's just all Dark Dragon Synchro monsters because of the restrictions. So 3 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. I'm tossing up whether to take out the 3rd for a 2nd Red Supernova Dragon. This is the new card in Ghost from the Past. It's pretty good when so first of all, it gains 500 attack for each tune in your grave. So typically it's coming out with 5,000 attack because it needs 3 tuners to make, but Synchron Resonator will recycle Crimson to your hand. So you'll have 2 in grave, so it'll come out at 5,000, which is pretty cool. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. Once per turn, your opponent's monster effect is activated, or when opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish Red Supernova Dragon plus all cards your opponent controls, which is excellent. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear those dogs barking, that's crazy. And then it returns during your next end phase, which is cool because it leaves your board open to do the whole combo again. Playing 1 King Calamity, 1 Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Archfiend Bane, 2 Archfiend Abyss, and this is the main one, 3 Red Rising Dragon. So when it's synchro summoned, you revive a Resonator from grave. You're locked into Dark Dragon Synchros from there, and then during the main phase, return this harvest into the grave. You can banish it to target 2 level 1 Resonators and summon. So typically on turn 2, you're banishing this to summon back 2 Synchron Resonators if you've got them. And then the last 3 slots are just other slots I just thought would be useful. Chaos Ruler, a lot of your cards are dark, so you can access this. You can't really revive it because you're not playing any lights, I don't think. No, at one point I was playing Nibiru as a going second card, but no, I'm not playing any lights, so you can't really revive it, but you can at least mill 5 to excavate to search. Playing 1 Beals and 1 Void Ogre as the 15th slot. And like I said, potentially trying to find room for a second red Supernova Dragon as an option. And for the side deck, I'm playing 3 Droll, playing 3 Dark Ruler, so this is just more going second cards. I might even try and find room to main Dark Ruler, potentially with something like Imperm. Might be a good idea actually. I'm playing 3 Twin Twisters just as some extra back row hate. Anti-spell, works against combo and control decks, which is pretty cool. And Red Rain. Now I've just put this in the side deck. I really like Red Rain. It's one of my favorite cards. It's pretty cool. If you control level 8 or higher synchro, banish all monsters on the field except the monster with the highest level, which is typically you because you're playing very large synchros with high levels. And then all monsters that are still remaining, which is usually just your 1 synchro, are unaffected by other card effects except their own. So it's not really going anywhere. They can't really out it at that point. And then if a Dark Synchro Dragon is summoned to your field while it's in the grave, you can add it back to your hand. So you can recycle it as well. So probably having 3 is not that necessary, but going first, you kind of want to see it as another disruption for your opponent. But that's the deck, and I'll go into some test hands now. Okay, just getting ready for test hand number 1. Shuffle up. Now it's a bit trickier doing test hands for a going second deck, but I'll just show you kind of what the hands look like and what we could do with them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So with a hand like this, we obviously have 3 cards here that are going to be disruptive. Skullmeister is also disruptive, but with the hand as it is, we need this to be our level 4 because we only have Crimson Resonator and no other level 4s. So Imperm, Ash, and Cosmic will be our disruption cards. Depending on what our opponent is playing, and we can kind of gauge that right from the start, we may potentially want to hold Imperm. Now, I find that holding Imperm is kind of useful. You could use it responsively to, you could use it right at the start of your turn to potentially shut off an Appaloosa to get rid of all of its negations. Use it on a Borrelord Savage Dragon, something like that, depending on the deck. Now, I know that people at my locals tend to play something like Heralds, for example. So Imperm would be more useful against my opponent on their turn, not being used to try and shut off Herald because they're going to have a bunch of negations already on the Herald. So depending on the deck would be when you fire off the Imperm. But hypothetically, here's our 6th card because we get to see 6. These 3 cards will all get used at some point, whether it's on the start of our turn or our opponent's turn. And hopefully that would be enough to simplify the state a little bit before we can then go into our main combo, which I'll just quickly show off now. So because we control no monsters, we special Crimson and we normal Skullmeister. Now we can synchro, and we're going to synchro for Red Rising Dragon. I typically use the extra monster zone, but this is just easier. Red Rising Dragon is going to summon back Crimson Resonator on summon, and then we can use Crimson Resonator's effect to summon 2 from deck. And just to show you how to get into Red Supernova Dragon, because it requires 3 tuners, summon 1 Synchron. These would all normally be in defense mode. And 1 Creation. So Red Supernova Dragon needs 3 tuners plus a non-tuner synchro monster. So there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's level 12. And there's our 3 tuners plus our synchro. And there's Red Supernova Dragon. On the Synchron Resonator is going to get its effect and it's going to add back Crimson. But actually, in this case, we don't necessarily have to add back Crimson because the other card in our hand was Crimson. We could add back Creation just for something different if we want to. It's just a free special summon of another body. And that would be our end board. We could obviously battle, that's 5,000 attack as an option. But that's test hand number 1. Nothing really too exciting. But that's just pretty standard. That's kind of what you want to do. You want 3 to 4 disruption cards and access to a level 2 tuner or Crimson Resonator or Red Resonator plus level 4. And it's quite consistent, so you see that fairly often. Skullmeister, Crimson again, Red, and Ash. And sometimes you get hands like this where they're very engine heavy, which is unfortunate. So we'd be firing this off at some point during our opponent's turn and drawing into it. So this is quite bad. This obviously gives us the combo, but it's not as strong here. But I'll show you just quickly another version of the combo. Because we've got lots of extra pieces, we'll Resonator command, get rid of a Crimson, and we'll search for Wandering King Wildwind. This is going to give us a little bit of extra stuff on our next turn. But with this is a bit tricky because our opponent's probably going to have some established things because we only ashed, and that's not necessarily enough to stop our opponent. From here, we can special. I'll show you a different version of the combo that ends on something slightly different. Red Rising, summon back Crimson, Crimson's effect, and this time what we're going to do is we're going to summon out, sorry, excuse that, that's the dog running around. This time we'll summon out 2 Synchron Resonators, just for something different. We'll synchro these 2 into Scarlet. Synchro these into Abyss. Okay, that's a negation. And we can synchro these into Bane. And Synchron will obviously, I could have used it on the first Synchron, but we're going to add back the Crimson Resonator. Actually, I can use both Synchrons and add back both Crimson Resonators. There we go, because they're not once per turn. Now, from here, obviously we've got 4 cards in hand. We can go into battle with Bane. If we get this far, obviously. When Bane inflicts battle damage, he revives 1 from grave and specials 1 from deck, but they have to be the same level. And we can go from there. But that's another example of a test hand. But you can kind of see what the deck aims to do. You want to draw disruption cards. And we could also tribute off the Bane to summon back either of these, depending on what we want to set up for. So if we've got heaps of monsters left over, we could summon back Archfiend and nuke the board, or we could summon back Abyss as a disruption card for our opponent's next turn. But yeah, that's kind of what the deck aims to do. I'll stop that there. Lots of disruption cards, and then you're just trying to get your engine set up for some synchro plays. Yeah, thank you for watching.